Advanced Grammar in Use. Martin Hewings.
Unit 15. Can, could, be able to, and be allowed to. A. Can, could, and, be able to. Ability. We sometimes use be able to instead of can and could to talk about ability. We avoid be able to when we talk about something that is happening as we speak.
Watch me. Mom, I can stand on one leg.
Before passives.
Films can now easily be streamed online.
Rather than films are now easily able to be streamed. When the meaning is know how to.
Can you cook?
Rather than are you able to cook. B. If we talk about a single achievement, rather than a general ability in the past, we usually use be able to, rather than could. Compare.
Sophie could play the flute quite well. Or Sophie was able to play the flute quite well. A general ability. And she swam strongly and was able to cross the river easily, even though it was swollen by the heavy rain.
However, could is usually more natural than be able to. In negative sentences.
I tried to get up but I couldn't move.
With verbs of the senses. For example, feel, hear, see, smell, taste, and with verbs of thinking, for example, believe, decide, remember, understand.
I could remember the crash, but nothing after that.
After the phrases the only thing, place, time, and after all, when it means the only thing.
All we could see were his feet.
To suggest that something almost didn't happen, particularly with almost, hardly, just, nearly.
I could nearly touch the ceiling.
C. Can and could. Possibility. To talk about the theoretical possibility of something happening, we use could, not can. However, we use can, not could. To say that something is possible and actually happens. Compare.
It could be expensive to keep a cat.
Equals. If we had one, it could, or it may not be expensive. And
it can be expensive to keep a cat.
Equals. It can be, and it sometimes is. We use can't, not couldn't. To say that something is theoretically, or actually impossible.
There can't be many people in the world who haven't watched television.
The doctor can't see you this morning. He's busy at the hospital.
D. We use can to indicate that there is a very real possibility of a future event happening. Using could suggests that something is less likely, or that there is some doubt about it. Compare.
We can stay with Jake in Oslo.
Equals, we will be able to stay, and
We could stay with Jake in Oslo.
equals, it's possible. If he's there. E. Could, and be allowed to. Permission. To say that in the past, someone had general permission to do something, that is, to do it at any time. We can use either could, or was allowed to. Were allowed to. However, to talk about permission for one particular past action, we use was allowed to. Were allowed to. But, not could. Compare.
Anyone was allowed to fish in the lake, when the council owned it. Or anyone could fish in the lake, when the council owned it. And although he didn't have a ticket, Ned was allowed to come in.
In negative sentences, we can use either couldn't, or wasn't allowed to, weren't allowed to say that permission was not given in general or particular situations.
I couldn't open the present until my birthday. I wasn't allowed to open the present until my birthday.
Exercises 15.1. Underline the correct or more natural option, or both if possible.
Valuables can left in the hotel safe. Please ask at the reception desk. We were able to finish the hockey match before it started snowing too heavily. The rebels could draw on the support of over 20,000 soldiers. The rebels were able to draw on the support of over 20,000 soldiers. Could you understand Professor Larsson's lecture? I found it really difficult. Do you want a game?
Sorry, I can't to play chess.
Look at me, I can ride my bike without any help.
When the firefighters arrived, they were able to put out the flames in a couple of minutes.
The air was so polluted in the city center, I could hardly breathe.
I knew Petra had been decorating. I could smell the paint when I came in.
Can you drive without your glasses? Are you able to drive without your glasses?
No changes can be made to this rail ticket after purchase.
He was able to untie the ropes without the guards noticing.
She looked all over the house, but couldn't find her keys anywhere.
I was very busy at work, but I was able to have a couple of days off last week.
15.2. Complete these blog posts with can, could, and be allowed to, or to forms if possible. Use negative forms where necessary. A.
We went camping in the north of Spain last July. As you probably know, it can rain a lot on the coast, even in midsummer, and the day we arrived, we couldn't believe how heavy the rain was. Eventually we found a place to camp, in a field next to a beach. We had a new tent. The advertisement for it said, "This tent can be assembled in 2 minutes, with no previous experience." What a joke. Now, there can't be many people who haven't had difficulty putting up a tent at some time. But it took us more than 2 hours. And then, just as it was done, a man came along and said that we weren't allowed to camp there. It was private property. So we had to take the tent down again. Then Eva just said, "Well, we can't stay here all night. Let's go to that hotel in the last village we drove through." Unfortunately, when we got there they were full. But they were very kind, and we were allowed to camp at the end of their garden.
B.
It is often said that sports coaches can be strict, but athlete Lance Jordan's was incredibly hard on him, in the year before the Olympic Games. For instance, Lance wasn't allowed to stay up later than 9, although on his birthday, he was allowed to watch television until 10. As it was a special occasion. Of course, all Lance could think of was going out with his friends in the evening. And he could hardly wait for the games to finish to get back to a normal life. When he complained, his coach just said, "Trust me and you'll win gold, you can't lose." And his coach was right. He won a gold medal in the 400 meters in a world record time. And on the night of his victory, Lance was allowed to celebrate by staying up until 11 o'clock. But no later, said his coach. The World Championships are only 2 years away.
Additional exercise 5, page 242.